from work, and I just wanted to share my experiences from today. Hi. For those of you that are new to this channel, please subscribe down below if you are a nursing student or anything related to nursing whatsoever. Subscribe down below, join the experience. I've been a nurse for maybe about less than a year. We'll say less than a year, and ER nurse, and I am usually in the less critical patients, maybe priorities 3s, some 2s. Sometimes I'm in fast track or quick care is what we call it. I get patients that are in and out, maybe probably priority 4s. And so now that I'm getting a little bit more acquainted, the charge nurses are actually starting to put me in the trauma room. And I do have my TNCC. I haven't got checked off yet to be able to scribe just yet. But my arm is getting tired. I don't have a little thingy for it. So I'm starting to get more shifts where I am being in the trauma rooms, in the trauma areas, and I'm getting sicker patients, priority 1s, priority 2s, patients that go to ICU, majority of the time get admitted. I've been in these sections before, I've been in OBS, but today I really feel like it just made me a different nurse. I don't know. It was a pretty hectic day, and it wasn't that it was super busy. It was more of the fact that the patients were a lot sicker, and not just in my area, not just in my section. Everywhere in the ER, I feel like a lot of the patients were sicker. So it wasn't really the census. It was more that you sick, or falls and that were trauma activations. So I actually had 3 rooms. I had 2 trauma rooms and one central room. Not only did we have patients that were a lot sicker, but we also had a trauma activation that I think it was like 7 a.m., maybe 7:15. They encoded, and it was a fall, altered mental status. So this patient was in one of the so we have 4 trauma rooms. This patient took up one of the trauma rooms the entire day because ICU was full. I work at a smaller hospital, or a medium size, but kind of smaller, and the ICU beds are full. So if the ICU is full, guess where they at? I can't even speak good English. Guess where they are? Where they stay? In the ER. So this patient took up T4 the entire day, and then we had another hold patient that was ICU hold in T3, and so I had T1 and T2, and so those were the only 2 trauma rooms that were available throughout the entire day. So any patient that came in that was trauma related or a T room qualified went to me all day, and so that was a little tiresome. Lots of septic workups. The patient that I actually ended up getting a patient in my central room, and she was a possible small bowel obstruction, and she ended up being admitted. Septic workup. She was on a carting drip. She was ICU patient. And then I had another patient that fell down 10 feet. She had 4 fractured ribs. She had a spinal fracture or spinal process at C3. What else did she have? She had a fractured sternum, and then a small subarachnoid bleed. I mean, a tiny one, but enough for her to be qualified for ICU. And I had gotten a PD patient with shortness of breath, retraction. 5-year-old in my other trauma room. I was drowning. Let me tell you, I was drowning. I was like, is this normal? I couldn't even tell. I didn't even know. I felt like I went to lunch at the wrong time, because originally when I went to lunch, I felt like I was caught up, but then once I left, they activated, or they did a septic workup on one of my patients. And so when I came back, the person that lunched me was basically stuck doing a septic workup by herself. And so I didn't know. They didn't put that order in, and we didn't suspect that they were going to put that order in. So that put me behind as soon as I got back from lunch, and it just went downhill from there till about 5:45, and then at 6:50 we had a stroke activation come in and go into CT, possible TPA. We had to get TPA ready and everything like that. So today was a really long day. It was a really hectic day. I feel like it made me a better nurse though, because really whenever you really as a nurse, it doesn't matter how many years you've been a nurse, it doesn't matter how much non-experience you have, you should always understand that you are not going to be comfortable, especially if you work in the ER. You have to be prepared to be uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations, doing things you've never seen before. You have to be able to push yourself, because if you don't, then you'll be complacent, and then that just doesn't make for a good nurse, because then you're kind of more autopilot and you're not really paying attention to signs and symptoms. I think I'm really starting to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that is like my motto as a new grad, and that's the biggest advice that I can give anybody. There's things that I still have to learn, there's things that I haven't seen before, and there's times where I get behind because I'm not really sure what the doctor ordered or what the doctor wants or anything like that. So I feel like today was a good day overall. It definitely felt like it was not going to end. It was brutal. It was probably one of the hardest shifts I've worked ever. But I also had a patient earlier today that he came in for syncope. So he came in for syncope. Basically, the EMS report that I received was this patient came in because his blood sugar. So he lived in a SNF, and his blood sugar was in the 340s. And when they were assessing him, seeing if he had any I can't even talk anymore, I'm so tired. Where they were assessing him to see if he had if he was symptomatic. So when they were assessing him to see if he was symptomatic, he actually had a syncopal episode. He went unconscious and his eyes kind of went up, and he maybe for about a minute or so became unresponsive, and so that's why they called 911. And I didn't really believe it at first, I'll be honest. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so I'm talking to this patient. EKG looked, he had a heart block, but overall he was asymptomatic. He was fine. His blood pressure was through the roof, but other than that, he wasn't compromised. I feel everybody's blood pressure is high in the ER. Even if you have good blood pressure, it's still higher in the ER. But anyways, so I went to another room. Then I get a call on the headset. Someone said, T1 needs the nurse, and I go in there, and the x-ray tech said he blinked out for a second and he became unresponsive, and then he just came back, and I was like, wait, what? Hold up, because I heard the monitor go off. And again, sometimes the monitors just go off because a lead is missing, or the patient moved around, or took off their monitor, or whatever. And so a lot of times that's why the monitors go off. And so I didn't really think anything of it. But then when she told me that he kind of went unresponsive, I was like, all right, this is what they said when I got report, so like this shit may be true. So I told the doctor, and she was like, put the pads on him. So I put the pads on him. I was in there, I was talking to him, and he did it again. And I was like, I started CPR immediately. I was just like, he wasn't responding to me. I did a sternal rub. This boy was not responding whatsoever. And so I started CPR. Less than a minute, and I asked for the doc to come in. Less than a minute later, he came back. And basically, and he did that 3 times within the hour. He did it 3 times. So then we put him on pacing. We actually put him on the transcutaneous pacing, and then obviously we called cardiac and for a consult, and he ended up going to get a pacemaker placed. But basically, his AV node was giving out, and so whenever it would give out, it wouldn't give the electrical signal for his heart to pump, and so he would just go asystole, and then it would revert back on its own. And so very scary. He kept doing it, and so we started CPR twice, and then less than a minute later he converted back. So it wasn't as nerve-wracking as I anticipated, because I knew eventually, me and one of the other nurses said, I'm gonna have an oh shit moment. You know, one of these days I'm gonna have an oh shit moment. And lo and behold, that was my oh shit moment. But I knew what I was doing. I feel like they give you enough training and enough checkoffs to where if you're not, even if you're uncertain about what you're doing, or you're not really conscious, or you know, you're nervous, all of that goes out the window, and the training that you receive kind of takes over, you know what I mean? And so I was so thankful for that. I knew immediately to start CPR and ask for the doc and ask for help, and I feel like overall I think that it went well. And yeah, but yeah, so that was my day today, and I just felt like it was good enough to document it. I don't know, I just felt like it was something that I wanted to share. I feel like it really did make me a different nurse today, and hopefully I'll have more days like this. And it just makes me feel good and honored that, like, okay, honor, calm down. It makes me feel good to know that the charge nurses are, because there's amazing nurses that I work with that have really a lot of experience, that have years and years on top of years on me. And there's even some new grads that have been a nurse for longer than a year that, you know, she could have put in this section, but she's giving me grooming time, you know what I mean? So I don't know, kind of it made me feel good that she's like, okay, I'm gonna give her a chance. See, and I believe in her, you know, I believe that she can take on this and do good. And so just made me feel good about myself, made me feel good about the team that I work with. And I really love my job, and I love being in the ER, and I've really understood it much more today. I don't know why, but yeah, that is all I have for today. I hope you liked it. Quick little video, and subscribe down below, comment, like, tell me your experiences, tell me when you felt like you became a different nurse. Until next time, guys, peace and kindness. Oh wait, no, what did I say? Peace and love.